Good morning. I wanted to finish the week with a question that a lot of you have been asking this week. Why in the world has it been so windy lately? Well, this one comes down to honestly the time of year. Spring is a transition season, and we often get more areas of low pressure coming through. But this all happens because the jet stream is starting to pass by us. In the winter months, the jet stream settles more south of us in its winter position, and that's why the cold air gets here. But in the spring, it's moving back north, eventually to reach its summer position, and that's whenever we typically get into more of the heat. But since the jet stream is basically now sitting more right on top of us, we get more rounds of low pressure, more storms, and more winds. Now, let me teach you a new word today. Have you ever heard of isobars? Isobars are lines of equal pressure. So what is the pressure of the atmosphere? When isobars are tight, it means the winds are passing more quickly along those lines, thus higher winds. Whenever they're more loosely spaced, the winds are typically on the lighter side. This is what they look like on a weather map. And look at that area of low pressure. You can see how the lines come together a little bit more. Now, thankfully, with this next system, the winds will not be as high. But let me show you an example of where the isobars are actually much tighter. Look at this Canadian system. You see how many of those isobars are even like across a province or a state? That represents a much higher wind scenario and yet another system that will bring windy conditions. Maybe not so much here in the tri-state because look at us, we have high pressure. The isobars are very loosely spaced and we won't have the high winds. But you know, these systems, they are a division between the warm and the cold, and the atmosphere is always trying to balance those two forces, and wind is the movement of the air from warm to cool and cool to warm. It's that trying to balance things out. And you know, in the next week, that warm air is going to try to make a little bit more of a trek to the north. But in that whole process, you better believe it's going to get windy out there. So spring is a transitional season. We get a lot of windy days, and the same can actually be said of fall, because in the fall, the jet stream goes from the north and slowly makes its way back down to the south.